ago, I went to hear the Canadian folk singer Farron. If you've never heard of her, she's an incredible lyricist with this beautiful gravelly voice. She had us participate in some of her songs, singing them as rounds or rubbing our hands together to simulate rain. But the most difficult thing she asked of our audience was to think of the person who had hurt us the most in our life and to make our peace with them. What surprised me is whose image immediately popped into my mind. It was a man I had once loved very intensely. This poem was my attempt to make it right. You were afraid I'd rob you of your magic. I was afraid you'd set me on fire. It's odd how much pain we both inflicted with the cold remnants of desire. Yet I stand here recalling what the touch of your hand meant to me, how I would suddenly be falling into a world rich in possibility. You gave me my life when I wasn't ready to take it for myself. We were both so cute when we were introduced. We'd been staring at each other for hours, yet you weren't too shy to ask me for a walk as soon as Bill's back was turned. And out under that overcast sky, I felt like I'd been given 3 wishes, and I'd better be careful about what I asked for. But all I knew were your eyes, your body, your laugh, and I asked you to come back to my tent with me because I didn't know what else to say. Later that night, you held me and stroked me. I thought I should be doing something for you, but you told me just to relax and listen. And you told me of your vision of the two of us sitting at breakfast together years later in the house we built together. And I didn't want to hear, because it's not right to be too happy. It tempts the gods to put us in our place. And I snuggled into your warm chest, buried my cheek and ear in the curly hair and said, "You're not supposed to say that." A few days later, we walked through Santa Fe holding hands as people stared and we smiled back at them. I forgot to be afraid. You kept making me laugh, bumping me with your hip, making funny voices, and especially when both our heads turned together watching the same blonde-bearded man. Even the day you kicked me out, when I was close to madness as I have ever come, and tried to turn my cold anger full on you, you sat me down in front of the fireplace and thawed me out, made me lie down as your large, strong hands massaged away my tension, and made me believe that you still saw me as strong and beautiful, funny and smart, while you still thought that together, despite my protests, we'd destroy each other. You gave me my life when I wasn't ready to take it for myself. I look back now as I try with another to build dreams that are as much yours as they are his and mine. I remember the days when all I wanted was to lie in your lap again. The weeks I spent dreaming you'd decide to give it another try. And the years that I spoke my mind, I opened my heart, I danced and laughed and cared. Because there was no doubt that you loved me. And there was something in this body, mind, or spirit that provoked that love. And if I could be worthy of that, I remember holding your hand in the back of the taxi cab and being so incredibly proud of you, I wanted the driver to see. Poetry can be off-putting, let's face it. It can be boring, incomprehensible, or depressing. Sometimes all 3 at once. I want to do something a little more lighthearted. I thought about writing a poem about dancing, but I found it impossible to convey the giddiness I feel when I dance. So then I thought about writing a poem from a different perspective, what I must look like to other people. So this is that poem about dancing. I'm in the mood for dancing, so I go to my drawer and pull out my one pair of jeans that have not developed oddly placed holes. They have shrunk in the dryer, but I suck in my stomach and button them quickly, only slightly hampering my ability to breathe. A loose t-shirt, socks, and sneakers complete the ensemble. The mirror is not kind, but I charitably assume it is lighting. I get in my car, ignore its noises, and head out to dance. I would like to lounge against the bar for a while, but wherever I stand seems to be where someone else wants to go. So I take advantage of a bouncy tune to position myself near a couple of my acquaintances, thereby giving me both freedom and a point of reference, and start to dance. I am dancing and everything is wonderful, though I do notice with a detachment of meditation that my top pants button has sprung off and landed in someone's drink. That roll around my midsection, which should have been taken care of by my monthly visit to the gym, has seized its opportunity to escape, and is threatening to push my pants down to my ankles and liberate the other buttons, to either follow the first or choose their own targets. I start to sweat, as I usually do when I'm getting going, and the dampness under my arm starts to rain on the floor below, creating a water hazard for nearby dancers and washing one couple away entirely. But I am dancing and cannot be bothered. At this point, my carefully combed hair has assumed the consistency of the mop in my bathroom. My eyes have assumed a glow they share with those of demented evangelists. And parents are picking up their children and running back and forth with them, either trying to save their innocent eyes from something they should not see, or to let them glimpse a sight they may not see the like of again. But I cannot be sure which. I am dancing and cannot be bothered. Now I'm really going. The other dancers have been kind enough to clear some space around me. I hope they just realize the split I have just done was somewhat intended, and not only due to my sneakers slipping in the puddle at my feet. I dare not acknowledge what that move has done to the precarious position of my pants, but judge the time may be right for taking a break. I blink nearsightedly at the staring people around me, wondering what has been happening while I've been busy. But I just act cool as I confide to the attractive but terrified-looking man I've approached by the bar. I just don't get a chance to come here very often. This is sort of a longer poem, is that I've always been interested in the people on the sidelines, you know, is the person you can't see who's almost hidden in the third row of the photograph, or the backup singer in a band, Jimmy Olsen rather than Superman. So when I became interested in Buddhism, naturally, of course, my attention was drawn to Buddha's cousin, Ananda. So this is a poem about Ananda. The story is told in various ways. This is how I've come to understand it. Ananda, whose name means ecstasy, was a personal attendant and servant of the Buddha. He swept his tent, washed his feet, and carried his cloak. He asked for 4 favors in return for his services: that if he accepted an invitation for the Exalted One, or granted an audience with him, his judgment be respected; and that if he required an audience himself, or needed to hear a doctrine again, that he might have forgotten or confused, the Buddha would oblige him. He also requested that he have the same lodging, food, and clothing as the least of the disciples, and that if the Buddha were to be a guest of a powerful monarch or wealthy merchant, that the invitation not be extended to him. All these things were granted to him, and the Awakened One kept him always close at hand, which was much discussed by the other disciples, for at times Ananda seemed the most backward among them. When a charging elephant was sent after the Buddha, he commanded all the disciples to stay behind him. All obeyed except Ananda, who, seeking to protect the Buddha with his body, had to be rescued. When the Buddha decided that women followers might cause too many problems for his newly formed community, it was Ananda who pleaded and coaxed, even quoting the Buddha's own words to make his point, so that the Exalted One finally sighed and relented. Indeed, it was Ananda who cried before the Buddha's death and said, "It comes too soon," as if he had never once heard the doctrine of impermanence. Even so, the Enlightened One kept Ananda in his company and responded to his questions. Even on the night before his death, when Ananda demanded that he give some instructions to the community, that he must give, and it was past time he appoint a successor, the Awakened One responded with a touch of impatience. "What would you have me tell them? I have held nothing back. The teachings are there for all." I have said everything I can say. It was never my intention to lead. You would all rather pay attention to me than to recall the teachings and try to live them. There will be no successor to further distract you. Ananda, be you a lamp unto yourself. Be you a refuge unto yourself. Don't seek any external refuge. Hold fast to the truth as a lamp. Hold fast to the truth as a refuge. Look not to anyone outside yourself as a refuge. Any who do this will reach the highest peak of perfection if they be willing to learn. But Ananda would only weep. What will I do without you? Who will help me penetrate my confusion? Go and sit, the Buddha said gently, and come to me in the morning. So Ananda made himself a cushion of twigs and leaves and sat, eyes open, counting his breaths under the starry skies. And as he sat, memories drifted through his mind. He noted them without holding on to them as he had been taught. He saw himself as a younger man, a prince, who left his court and position to follow his cousin, Prince Siddhartha, who had become a teacher. He saw himself at a later point, apologizing to his teacher for his lack of attention, but he had been distracted by the beauty of a field of poppies. Haven't I told you, said his teacher, laughing at him, that such beauty is a thing for the moment only, that like your dark hairs, your dark eyes, your glossy hair, your soft lips, is not something to get attached to. For all too soon, all we are left with is dust. Perhaps, he recalled himself saying with a mischievous smile, but if such beauty comes and goes so quickly, shouldn't we not rush to appreciate it while it is there? I believe there are enough men, his teacher said dryly, who race around in the pursuit of transient beauty. But let me ask you if you prefer a disciple who is beautiful in face and body, or one who is noble in character. One who is noble in character, of course. And do you prefer one who is noble in himself, or one who spreads the teachings for the benefit of all? One who spreads the teachings. And do you prefer one who spreads the teachings, or the teachings themselves? Well, here's where I disappoint you as a student. I know what you would have me say is the teachings are what are valuable. The teacher at best a vehicle, at worst a distraction. But somehow, in this world, I am more moved by compassion than truth. More willing to be the teacher's servant than to set myself up as teacher. We have years of work ahead of us as teacher side. But will you at least admit you prefer the teachings to those poppies you keep staring at? Ananda only smiled. He continued to sit, a lone monk framed against the enormous night sky. And just before rising, let one more memory surface. It was of a time soon after he had been chosen as servant. Other disciples, jealous of his closeness to the Buddha, mumbled about why he was chosen, rather than one more disciplined or wise. Troubled about this, he went to his teacher. You were chosen because this is how you prefer to serve me, not because you see it as a means to something else. You are stubborn, it is true, but you are always honest. I may disagree with your values, feel I've failed you as a teacher, but I always respect the wisdom of your heart, the nature of your compassion. You worry about me too much. Act as if I am decrepit rather than just a little slower at 56 than I was at 30. But you're pleasant to look at, refreshing to talk to, and even when you're wrong, it comes from compassion rather than greed. And Ananda stood up and stretched, smiled at his memories, and made ready for bed. And on the last day of the Buddha's life, the stories all told how he had words for the other disciples. But for Ananda, he had only a smile. I presented him with a flower. But as far as I know, this version is the only one that mentions that the flower was a red poppy in full bloom, a recognition of beauty, even in its transience, a reminder of laughter for his fondest disciple. And poetry can be very isolating. I write because I want others to know how I'm feeling, but it can feel like a question waiting for an answer. So I decided to take a page from Pete Seeger in those singers who have the audience sing along. Marty thought I was joking before I came here when I was talking about audience participation, but this is a prize for him. Call and response can be a great way for someone as lazy as me to only do half the work. So I'm going to read the poem through quickly so you see that I'm not asking you to agree to anything objectionable. And then I'm going to read a short line and you're going to repeat it back to me. It's the closest I can come as a poet to hearing people humming my songs as they leave a concert. So let me just read it through quickly. I like to pretend that I am a child dreaming about days to come. I like to pretend that what I dream is what my life has become. Dreaming about the hard times and all that growing through pain, learning I can make it through and find myself laughing again. Making friends and learning to love them, learning how to open my heart, taking on tasks and learning to share them, taking pride in doing my part. And I always want to be carried away by good music or a loving hand, but I still take pride in thinking clearly and knowing where the hell I stand. I have no need to be a child again, adolescence once is enough, but I wish someone could have warned me what to do when the going got rough. Trust in the beauty of the stars, the peace in a grove of trees, value the respect of those you love, and take care of your own needs. And now, you're going to do it. I like to pretend that I am a child, dreaming about days to come. I like to pretend that what I dream is what my life has become. Dreaming about the hard times and all that growing through pain. Learning I can make it through and find myself laughing again. Making friends and learning to love them. Learning how to open my heart. Taking on tasks and learning to share them. Taking pride in doing my part. And I always want to be carried away by good music and a loving hand. But I still take pride in thinking clearly and knowing where the hell I stand. I have no need to be a child again. Adolescence once is enough. But I wish someone could have warned me what to do when the going got rough. Trust in the beauty of the stars, the peace in a grove of trees. Value the respect of those you love, and take care of your own needs. Thank you so much.